Hello and welcome to Wilson's World Afcon Daily, episode 4, where we look back on day 3 of the action and look ahead to day 4. Day 3, a day on which Senegal and Tunisia both recorded very comfortable wins and their victories too for the Democratic Republic of Congo and for Nigeria. Senegal, who a lot of people think are the best sub-Saharan hope in this tournament, were comfortable 3-0 winners over Botswana. Botswana, the lowest ranked team in the tournament. They held out for 40 minutes, defended pretty well, but then Nicholas Jackson converted a low cross just before half-time. He got his second around about the hour, capitalising on Ismail Sarr pass, and they ended up racking up 28 shots, raining in on the Botswanan goal, and no surprise when Sharif Njai made it 3-0 late on. The other game, Group D, was a lot closer, though you suspect that if DR Congo had a high-class forward, maybe if Jan Wissa were fit enough to have come to Morocco, that they might have won more comfortably than the 1-0 they beat Benin by. Tea Bongonda got the goal, pouncing on a defensive error after 16 minutes. And although DR Congo had a lot of opportunities after that, it stayed 1-0, and they almost paid for that late on. Lionel Mpassi, their goalkeeper, having to make a very good save with his feet from Aigan Tosin. Group C, very comfortable win for Tunisia. Elias Ashuri scoring twice in a 3-1 win over Uganda, who really didn't look up to much. 3-0 down fairly early in the second half of that game. Nigeria also got off to a winning start as they beat Tanzania 2-1, but they made hard work of it. Game they really seemed to have control of. It took the lead through Semi Ajayi's header from an Alex Iwobi cross, and it looked just after half-time had gone 2-0 up as Victor Osimhen headed in a cross. Turned out he was just offside, and almost immediately Tanzania equalised through Charles Mobwa. Almost straight away, though, Ademola Lookman. Wandsworth Bourne, actually not very far from where I am right now. Nice feat to create space on the edge of a box and drilled in a shot from 20 yards. And that turned out to be the winner, 2-1 to Nigeria, but not overly impressive. So the game's on Christmas Eve. 5:30 UK time, Group F. We have the defending champions Ivory Coast kicking off against Mozambique. A much changed team from when they won the tournament 2 years ago, certainly up front. They really don't have an out-and-out centre forward with Sebastian Allaire pulling out with a hamstring injury last week. No Max Gradel, who he's 38 now, but he was the captain 2 years ago. Simon Odingra has struggled for minutes really this year at Brighton and after his move to Sunderland. He wasn't called up. Nicola Pepe was dropped after some comments he made in an interview about players adopting an African nationality late, as he would see it. So it seemed a fairly pointed comment about a couple of teammates, including Wilfried Zaha. So a lot of pressure, really, I think, for goals on Ahmed Diallo, who is a exceptional player, but he will need some help. Mozambique were crucial to Ivory Coast's success last time. It was their 2 goals in injury time against Ghana that forced a draw and took Ivory Coast through as a best third-place team. If you remember, they lost their second and third group games there. They defensively pretty fragile, especially from set plays. They're not bad going forward, though. They could spring a surprise, although you do think Ivory Coast will have too much of them. Ivory Coast, very, very good in World Cup qualifying. Then the other game in that group, Cameroon against Gabon. Now, Cameroon, of course, had that farce as Marc Brice, the Belgian coach, was sacked just before the tournament by Samuel Eto'o as he won his war with the sports ministry. Samuel Eto'o is now the president of Fecafoot. I don't think anybody doubts that Eto'o is the power behind Brice's successor, David Pagu, who had been one of Brice's assistants. Is he picking the squad? Is it Eto'o? Not entirely clear. So that chaos can only count against Cameroon. And Gabon are experienced. They've got a lot of players in what you'd expect to be their last tournament. Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang is back at 36. They were actually really good in World Cup qualifying. They had the best record of any of the second-place teams. They only dropped 5 points in finishing behind Ivory Coast. And they're definitely a threat to a squad in chaos. Group E, the only group we haven't heard from yet, they start off at 12:30. 3 o'clock game is Algeria v Sudan. Algeria, 2019 champions. Fancied by a lot of people this time in North Africa, managed by the Bosnian former Switzerland manager, Vladimir Petkovic. Pretty free scoring as well, in contrast to some previous Algerian teams we've seen. Mohamed Amoura got 10 in 10 in World Cup qualifying. For Sudan, I mean, really it's remarkable there at all, given the civil war. They have no domestic league. And Al Hilal, who provide more players than any other club in this tournament, they now play in the Rwandan League. So Sudan really just representing their nation in a time of real difficulty. Algeria, possible winners. The early game, 12:30, the other game in that group, Burkina Faso against Equatorial Guinea. We mentioned Mark Brees, who was sacked by Samuel Eto'o and picked his own squad for a couple of nations anyway, and that took a few days to sort itself out. Well, Juan Michu, their coach, you may remember him in charge of Equatorial Guinea the last two tournaments. He did even more for George Costanza. He was on strike, he and certain players were on strike, they refused to go to a World Cup qualifier away against Malawi. He was sacked, but turned up anyway at the squad announcement for this Cup of Nations. And everybody seems to have just forgotten that he ever was kicked out. So see how that plays out. Burkina Faso, I think, actually looked like a decent outside bet to go quite deep. Very good forward line, Bertrand Traore, Lassina Traore, Dango Ouattara, potent attack. They've got strength and depth there as well. And then at the back, they've got the Newcastle target, Edmund Tapsoba of Bayer Leverkusen. Although it's not entirely clear whether he will be available, having joined up with the squad late. So enjoy those games. Have a very, very happy Christmas. And I will see you on Boxing Day, I think. Anyway, see you next time. Merry Christmas.